Tucker's coming in. I got to stop by.
Thanks, Gary. Presentation today is part 2 of our series on the environment, which is Rotary International's 7th new area of focus. Derek Long has a long record of entrepreneurship and program development in government, for-profit and non-for-profit sectors. He founded Sustainable Connections in 2002 and became executive director of Cloud Mountain Farm Center prior to an anticipated merger with Sustainable Connections at the end of 2018. He is committed to creating a community and economy that works well for all people and believes our region is rich with the potential to do so. Before his foray into the nonprofit world, he co-founded Viatrue, an online fair trade retail service, and also worked with the Federal Reserve Bank. Derek attended the University of Toledo, where he received Bachelor's of Art in Business Administration with honors. He has served on the boards of Washington Business Alliance, the Waterfront Advisory Group, the Countywide Affordable Housing Task Force, Community Food Co-op, and the Cloud Mountain Farm Center. Derek, welcome to the Rotary Club of Bellingham. You have the floor and presentation rights.
Thank you so much, Paul. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'll go ahead and share my screen here and hope that it works. Great.
Yep.
All right. Well, I titled, thanks again to everyone and to Paul for this invitation. I titled the presentation Thriving Community, Economy, and Environment. We're always looking for opportunities when we do programming and initiatives to get multiple types of returns on our investment. And that means dollars, people, and the environment. We've been at this for about 18 years. And I sure feel fortunate to have been on the founding group and to be with the organization, and most of all, to be doing this work in Whatcom County, which I just love. We have several programs we've grown over the last 18 years. We have over 30 employees. They're very technically sound, friendly, incredible people to work with. Our program areas are like Think Local First, which has been around for the full 18 years, promoting the value of locally owned business. Maybe many of you have seen in this last holiday season, shopping season, a big push with Sasquatch featured to promote Think Local First. So happy to say that the Chambers of Commerce from throughout Whatcom County collaborated on this, the Downtown Bellingham Partnership, tourism, the Ports Regional Economic Partnership. So we all work together to promote supporting locally owned businesses, and especially those that are hit hardest by the COVID situation we're in. The food and farming program is also one of our key programs. And prior to the merger with Cloud Mountain Farm Center, we really focused on connecting farmers and fishermen to wholesale buyers of all kinds, grocery retailers, restaurants, caterers, senior care centers, and other places that serve a lot of meals. So primarily doing market development and promoting why we should all think local first and eat local first when we can. But when we merged with Cloud Mountain Farm Center, we had seized an opportunity to expand our ability to offer technical training to new and existing farmers who want to grow their businesses. But the last 3 are the ones I'm going to focus on today: Towards Zero Waste, Green Building, Smart Growth, and Energy Efficiency and Renewables. I'll start with Green Building Program and Smart Growth. And we do a lot of work in different areas for Green Building and Smart Growth. One of them is public education and market development. We want folks who are looking to do a retrofit, a remodel, new construction, to approach their architects and their engineers and designers and builders with good ideas and good questions. And so we do a lot of public engagement to help build our information levels. One is a home and landscape tour that we've been doing for 18 years. And typically on the weekend of the home and landscape tour, we'll get like 500 people who are serious about a remodel or new construction project, touring 10 to 12 sites. And most importantly, able to talk with designers and builders that have the expertise to deliver the kind of green, healthy buildings that we want. We also do a lot of industry education, green building conferences, an end of the year green building slam, which is a rapid fire presentation format for exciting projects that local professionals are involved in. We even have a monthly get together of the nerdiest of all the green building people, the Green Building Nerds group. They typically pre-COVID would get together once a month with a pint and some French fries, and they'd roll out their plans on projects they're working on and get input from their peers on how to deliver a better project. And so it's a really fun group. We also do technical assistance when we can. One of the ones we're most proud of is when we worked with the Port of Bellingham to evaluate district energy potential on the waterfront. And our analysis showed that we could deliver green, cost-effective energy to all the future buildings on the waterfront with this district energy approach, and that we would get at least a 50% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions from future buildings with this kind of infrastructure. So the port studied it closely, made very significant investments when putting in the new roads to put in the circulatory system for the district energy system. They've since, I think just last month, signed a deal with an energy services company that will manage the new energy services. And their first power plant, I'm told, for this district energy system is going to be a biomass energy or power plant. So it's going to be a very green energy solution for our waterfront. We do solar campaigns, we do water quality work, all kinds of initiatives. Green schools summits before the Bellingham School District started the process of building several new schools. We do a lot of topic-specific workshops on construction waste reduction, getting glazing right, building envelope, things like that. But we also spend a lot of time focusing on smart growth. And one thing we've learned over the last 15 years or so is we understand greenhouse gas pollution more and other types of pollution. And we understand the complexity of our built environment. We started to realize that land use is a key issue in how we grow and how we set ourselves up for success for pollution reduction in the future. I served on the City of Bellingham's Climate Task Force a year or two ago. This graphic hit me pretty hard. It's a comparison of Atlanta's built-up area and Barcelona, Spain's built-up area. And you can see in the graphic that the populations are similar between the two cities. They also have similar per capita income numbers, so their wealth is about the same. But you can see the urban area is far, far different. And the transportation carbon emissions between the two are far different. A typical Atlanta resident will burn 10 times the amount of carbon as a typical Barcelona resident. And it's not just carbon pollution, but the science is good now. We know that our choices about land use also connect to public health. The more time people spend in the car, the worse their health is. We know that land use decisions like this have an impact on water quality. They have an impact on preserving farmland. They have an impact on preserving working forests and wildland. Land is a precious resource. And so we spend a lot of time thinking about making sure that we're making good choices about where we develop. And housing development is one of those key areas. You guys are all business owners, employers. Many of you are probably very familiar with the challenges of the housing market right now, and have been for years. We don't have enough housing supply. It's too hard to build new housing. And the future housing supply, the vast majority of it needs to go into our existing cities, and it needs to be done well. We learned over time that a lot of people in existing neighborhoods really like the neighborhoods the way they are. They're resistant to change. And that resistance to change has a lot of downstream impacts on our economy and our environment and our public health. We need to rethink how we think about change in our neighborhoods. And so this initiative, the Housing Alliance, is an effort to pull together representatives from affordable housing community, the private sector, real estate development community, even public health, business and commerce organizations, environmental organizations, government agencies, so that we bring all of that intelligence together in one organization to offer public education, advocacy on policy change, and technical assistance. We really need to engage the public more about all the benefits of creating more housing opportunities in our existing cities and existing neighborhoods. And when the public is, I guess, more aware of the sometimes hidden benefits of this kind of growth, they'll be more likely to help re-elect policymakers who are making sometimes very tough votes that create change opportunities in our community, and also help cultivate new elected officials to push forward on important policy. I want to talk a little bit about the energy program and Toward Zero Waste, and we should still have plenty of time for questions. The Community Energy Challenge is something we founded in 2008 with the Opportunity Council. And the Opportunity Council has a lot of expertise in building health and energy efficiency in homes in particular. And so the Opportunity Council does the home assessments and the multifamily building home assessments, and offers energy services around that. And Sustainable Connections does the marketing for the whole program, keeping the client pipeline full. And our energy engineers do the building assessments for energy saving opportunity and renewable energy opportunity. And just grab this shot really quickly to show in the commercial building sector where most of the energy use is, and it's very diverse. And so I'm really happy that we have people with 7, 8, 10 years experience with the Community Energy Challenge doing these building assessments and helping business owners and building owners understand the complexity of the energy they use in their buildings. So it's 12 years old. We're a neutral, third-party, independent energy assessor. And when your building gets assessed, you'll get a full report prioritizing the energy savings opportunities that are most cost effective and provide great greenhouse gas reductions. And we do some quick fix work when they're in there doing the energy efficiency work, and help with really complicated capital projects as well. This pie chart just shows in the history of our program here, the kind of range of energy savings that most commercial buildings will see. And you'll see up in this right corner that about a quarter of the clients we've served, which is, we're talking about 800 or 900 buildings at the commercial buildings at this stage, will do some simple lighting retrofits and other small measures. And so a quarter of them will save 5 to 15% of their energy. 6% will save 15 to 25%. And 2/3 will save more than 25% of their energy. We've also learned that when we give a client a comprehensive report, they usually don't tackle all the recommendations right away. They keep coming back to it every couple of years and knock off a few more projects. And and it really adds up over time. And so The average project life for the retrofits is about 15 years. And I also want to share with you guys a quick sort of snapshot of what a typical deal looks like for a capital investment. One of the things we do really well is make sure that the clients are able to maximize the utility rebates that are available. And then due to some of our fundraising efforts, we have an incentive dollar pool that we can add to help bigger projects go forward. So in this pie chart shows that, in a roughly like proportions in a $30 hole here, I suppose, $1 comes from sustainable connections, $2.39 from the utilities, and $25 comes from private sector investment to get the deals done. So from 2018 to 2020, a typical project for us would be include about $640 in incentive dollars from sustainable connections, about $1,500 in utility grants, and over the lifetime of the project, we'll save about $16,000 in utility bills. And then finally, Towards Zero Waste. This is a program we've been doing for 12 to 14 years as well. It started with Rudd Brown, Councilmember Rudd Brown, and his company Risex, who had this incredible story of how they'd taken their business to zero waste. I think cigarette butts were the only thing their team couldn't figure out a way to get rid of and recycle and reuse. And it was an inspiring story, and they documented it really well. And so at one of our business conferences, Rudd came in, and he's an engaging speaker, and he told this incredible story. And so afterwards, our staff was approached by a number of business owners and managers who said, we'd love some help reducing waste. Do you think you could help us with that? And so we started doing our research of what models were out there. We did some fundraising. Risex was kind enough to share all their materials, which we adapted for other industries. And we launched the program. And this program as well is, we'll hit 1,000 clients probably sometime late next year. A lot of this is dependent upon COVID restrictions, but late 2021 or early 2022. And this program is adapted a bit over the years. Mark Peterson is our program manager, and he has chaired the Solid Waste Advisory Committee for the county for a number of years. And when they did a waste assessment for the whole county, they realized that food was actually a huge source of waste and a huge source of carbon pollution. And so they set about trying to figure out how to recover food. And because of our food and farming program and our relationships with grocery retailers and restaurants, you guys may know the trends in food, especially pre-COVID, were moving more and more toward people buying prepared foods through restaurants and grocery delis and things like that. And so these prepared foods, if they're getting near the date where the store would just rather not keep selling that food, it's still nutritious and delicious and perfectly edible, but was being landfilled or potentially put in the compost stream. But a lot of it was being landfilled. And so we set out to build a lot of partners and a lot of volunteers and set up a network of dedicated people to start picking up those prepared foods and distributing them to those in our community who are hungry. And so these are just our 2020 numbers. About 250,000 pounds of food recovered, about 200,000 meals donated. There are 77 businesses and organizations that donated some food in 2020, but 18 of them have prepared foods for our volunteers to pick up every single week. You can also see that saving this food and distributing it saves a lot of water, and it saves a lot of carbon emissions as well. We're just thrilled about how this program is developing. We've donated to 11 different organizations in Whatcom and Skagit County with this food. And most of it is done with volunteers on a circuit, picking up from the same donors every week and delivering to the same recipient organizations. And then finally, I'll share just a minute about a new grant and a new initiative we're launching, which is where to go with to go. And you know, all of our efforts to get out and continue to support our favorite restaurants and, you know, delis and so on. It's creating, and we're doing a lot of takeout. It's creating a lot of waste, a lot of single-use packaging. And I'd love it if we can continue to support all those restaurants, even more than we're already doing. But I'd love it even more if we could do it with less waste. And so this new grant is to provide an extra measure of support for the restaurant industry and others who are, you know, helping us with delicious food and need some tips on how to make sure that takeout and delivery food is available to us with less waste created. So I'll hopefully have a chance sometime in a few years to present to you guys again and tell you some incredible innovations associated with our to-go waste container work as well. And that's pretty much what I prepared for you. I think I finished pretty much right on time, Paul. Do we still have 5 minutes or so for questions?
Yes, we do. And Derek, congratulations on just huge success in so many areas over these years. Well done.
Thank you.
So, questions for Derek? Well, let me start then. That first life of a plastic bottle, water bottle, what alternatives do you have in mind with your program?
Well, we've had several businesses just stop offering bottled water in the workplace. They don't set up their staff meetings in a conference room with a bottle of water in front of every chair anymore. And the encouragement is that everyone carries their own bottle, right? Or their own cup. And it's even gone so far as many workplaces installing a different kind of drinking fountain that has, you know, that we see at airports and other places that are just easy and sanitary to refill your own bottle rather than grab another plastic bottle for water. 450 years, that's incredible.
Mm-hmm. And everybody should quit smoking. That'll take care of the cigarette.
No doubt about that.
Other questions?
Styrofoam,
Derek, I had a question.
go for it, Monty.
the styrofoam that you put down is forever. Is that a device, or is it just a little individual granules as they deteriorate, as they break apart? They're lasting that long?
I understand. Yeah. And my understanding is the particles. Yeah. And I mean, just yesterday, I read on Yahoo Finance a new venture funded company that's making, plastic material out of, vegetable oils and stuff. I mean, we're gonna figure out better and better alternatives. It's kind of a sloppy industry out there right now. There are a lot of things being marketed as green packaging alternatives that in the end don't perform the way we need to. And it ends up confusing the marketplace. People who are really trying hard to make the right choices, but are being marketed products that just don't produce the benefits that are marketed. And so maybe it's a little bit like our work with energy efficiency with building owners, that there are so many different options. It sure would be nice to have somebody who, spends their career thinking about it and problem solving on this to just help them choose the right stuff. So yeah, stay away from styrofoam.
And Derek, we've been using biodegradable garbage bags for several years now. They're not as strong as plastic, but I'm wondering if there's any alternative to replacing all the plastic bags in the grocery stores and other stores, which, a huge thing. I mean, we've been doing this drive-in pickup stuff from Fred Meyer's, and for $100 of groceries, we get about 10 plastic bags, each maybe with 1 or 2 items in it. It's kind of crazy. And I'd love to be able to do away with that, but we don't know what to do with them other than just kind of throw them in the trash.
Yeah, right. Well, I think what I've seen in the compostable bags over time is that as the industry matures, better and better products are coming out. And the poor performers are going to not survive. But your description of the drive-up pickup grocery is just an extension of the where to go with to-go problem that we're dealing with restaurants, right? Is that in a non-COVID environment, you might be shopping differently and have your own bags. But in a COVID environment, we just have to, we're finding ourselves just needing to accept that some things are just too hard to fix right now, right? As frustrating as it is. And we have that debate with our staff all the time. But we love our restaurants, right? And we're, our team members are digging deep to spend there and help them get through this time, even though it's frustrating the amount of waste. So we're in some ways just as confused as everyone else, and making trade-offs that we don't love, but just feel like we have to do because this is the time we're in.
Back
Derek,
to
I
John.
think,
John, just real quick, John, follow up. You can't specify paper bags versus plastic when you are placing your order?
Well,
Good question.
I'm not sure about that, but it would seem to me that would be a whole lot better alternative. They may be a little bit more expensive, and that may be the deterrent for places like Fred Meyer using it. But at least paper bags are reusable and compostable.
This is Mark Middle. We've tried, and the answer is you can't. Have the same problem. But I have a question for Derek related to that. We try and use SSC to put all of our plastics and recycle it through SSC. What do they do with that? I mean, where does it end up going once they collect all that plastic?
Yeah, it changes sometimes. And any information I pass along to you today will probably be different in 6 months. But I know the recycled materials market right now for most of the materials is really poor. The one thing that I heard my friend Rod Pemble, who's worked for SSC as a recycling manager for ages, for so many years, is that he's seen a lot of communities in an effort to increase participation in recycling, curbside recycling, have gone to the single stream model that you might see in Seattle and other cities, where you just pretty much put it all in one container. But ultimately, even as slick as their sorting equipment is, you end up with really a lot of contaminated material. And so, a few years ago, China was the main destination for a lot of our recycled materials. And you may have noticed in the news that they just stopped taking it. And so Rod would say, thank goodness we still do our source separate at home and put them in different bins. And at our businesses, we sort the materials carefully. And he said the quality of our recycled material is top notch compared to many other communities. And so therefore the market for our products is more promising than most communities. But yeah, I think at some times the certain types of plastic just are piling up and don't have a market. And it's a challenge. So some, we shouldn't be, we should know that our efforts to source separate at work and at home are really important, and we need to keep recycling. But we probably shouldn't assume that 100% of what we put in the bins, as clean as it is and well sorted as possible, is actually going to turn into another product. The markets just aren't that good. But I couldn't tell you, but I could get it back to Paul. I could get in touch with, Rod would be a great presenter. And I can get in touch with Mark Peterson to send you his latest intelligence on how our recycling partners are doing, finding markets for the materials.
Yeah, Derek,
Okay,
you
thanks,
could
Derek.
send that contact on to me.
Yeah.
And I'll discuss potential of another program. And with that, thank you, Derek. Super program, Gary
My
Education.
pleasure. Thank
Gary,
you for the
back-
invitation.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
Gary,
Derek,
back
thank
to
very
you.
much. Let me give a quick COVID report, and then we'll bring the meeting to an end. We're in a nationwide a peak period right now for COVID infections. The hospital currently has 16 people in the hospital with COVID. They've reported 2 recent deaths, both at comfort level of care. There are 2 patients in the ICU, so the other 14 are on medical level of care. We've had very few patients that have required ICU level of care, and for the patients who are getting full treatment, they're almost exclusively being discharged back to home. So we continue to have adequate hospital space and personnel to treat the problem locally, but the numbers of people who are showing up with new positive test results is high. It's, as was sort of predicted with the winter months, it's elevated again over summer and fall. And I think everybody's kind of holding their breath with Christmas and New Year's as to what's going to happen over the next few days. We are now rolling out vaccines, although at a slower pace here and statewide and nationwide than I think people had hoped. At this point in time, the hospital is vaccinating credentialed healthcare providers and their own staff. The Lummi tribe got a large amount of vaccine to take care of their credentialed tribal members. And some of the family practice operations are receiving vaccine. FCN was the first of the large family care network, family practice groups to be able to receive vaccine, and they're working through vaccinating 1A and 1B people at this point in time. I expect over the next couple of weeks that we'll see acceleration in that. I participated in the hospital's vaccination program on January 1st, and in the 30 minutes that I was there, they must have had at least 50 people that came through and got their first shots. So we're progressing in that regard. So it's, we continue to be able to take care of people in this community. We are still seeing some deaths in our elderly population who are, for the most part, not being aggressively treated. And for those who are being aggressively treated, the outcomes have been pretty good locally. We fared better here than other areas of the state, and we fared better in Washington than other states have. I've got maybe a minute or so for somebody's got
Gary,
a quick question.
Gary, I have a question.
Go ahead, Rick.
So how are we going to be notified when we can get the shot? I'm at the age 75 where it's supposed to be high on the list, but I've talked to pharmacies and they have no idea how we're going to be notified.
As of Thursday of last week, the 31st, when I spoke to our county health officer, there was not a plan yet in place for how to proceed. What I would do is I would let your primary care provider know that you're here and that you want to be put on their list. And so when they wind up getting vaccine, you get notified that way. It has not yet gotten to the point where pharmacies are getting vaccine, but I would expect that in the next couple weeks or so, once the healthcare providers and the nursing homes and the large practice groups have received their vaccines, that the next logical place would be through the pharmacies. But right now, we're ahead of that. And the county health department does not currently have a program or a plan to take your name or to figure out how to get you a vaccine. So my advice to you right now would be to call your primary care provider and work through them. And then I'll continue to report back when I
Thanks,
know
Gary.
more.
Thank you.
Gary,
Yes,
I and several of my colleagues, retired physicians over 70, are interested in knowing whether our services would be appropriate to give immunizations. We may not be current, but we're at least trained in giving immunizations, and how best to get feedback as to where we might be used.
I don't know where to refer you at the moment. You know, I would think that Greg Stern would probably, sending Greg Stern an email might be the way to do that. If you're still credentialed emeritus through the hospital, you can at least receive the vaccine. And they had a very organized nurse-based program for giving it, but their clinics will be shut down on the 21st. So they're planning on basically getting everybody through their second shot by the 21st.
Now, it wasn't so much about getting our shot, but giving shots.
I understand, but you need to be, you need to be vaccinated first. So I understand the question. There's just no organized system currently.
So Gary, has Peace Health started vaccinating any patients, or are they still doing only their staff?
Peace Health.
Peace Health.
Internal medicine.
John, I'm not understanding you. You may need to turn off your video.
Okay, hold on. So my question, Gary, is with Peace Health, I know they've been working on vaccinating their entire staff. Have they started vaccinating patients, also people who would be in the 1B group?
You mean through the Peace Health Medical Group,
Right.
their primary care? Not as of the 1st, but I think that will, shortly follow.
Okay.
My guess is that by the time I report to you next week, there'll be several more options.
Thanks.
Okay, I'd like to thank all the people that made today's meeting possible. John Dunn, Sandy, and I were your greeters. Scott Wilson was our AV guru for the weekend, or for the week rather. John Harris put together America the Beautiful. John Pedlow, our Tatler reporter. Tom Grinstead, our Tatler editor. Jennifer for doing her invocation, as well as one really wonderful invocation, as well as her report on Max Higsby. Terry for helping to introduce our recipient for a grant. Paul's our program chair and producer of the program. Rob Westford for his book report, and Derek Long for our program. And I'll stay on, and you're welcome to stay on, but for those of you that need to get back to your days, thank you for everything you do as Rotarians. I look forward to seeing you next Monday.